All right, let's dive right into this explainer. We always hear the brain called the body's control center, but when you actually look at how it organizes and processes information, it is literally a masterclass in biological engineering. So let's map out exactly how your brain divides up its workload to make you, well, you.
Now, from the outside, the cerebrum, which is the largest part of the brain, kind of just looks like this single, continuous, wrinkled mass, right? But it's really not. It's actually divided into highly specific command centers that are hiding right in plain sight. We're talking about a network of 6 distinct machines working as one. But before we can get into what those specific machines do, we've got to understand how the brain actually creates the boundaries between them.
So, before we map the geography, we need to understand the landscape itself, and that starts with the gyri. These are those raised ridges, those outward folds of gray matter right on the surface of the cerebral cortex. And honestly, this folding is just a brilliant piece of evolutionary design because it massively increases the brain's surface area, which lets us pack way more neurons right inside the skull. And right between those ridges, we have these sulci. These are the deep grooves or valleys running through the brain's surface. And listen, these definitely aren't just random wrinkles. The deepest of these grooves act as literal boundary lines. They're the borders dividing the cortex into the distinct departments, or lobes, that we're about to explore.
Okay, let's meet Department 1, the frontal lobe. Sitting right there behind your forehead, resting on the orbital plate, is what we like to call the executive suite. This lobe is your director of operations. It's handling the really complex stuff: planning, problem-solving, regulating your emotions, and voluntary movement. Whenever you make a decision to act, yep, it originates right here.
And to really grasp the sheer scale of this department, just think about this fraction: 1/3. The frontal lobe is the largest single section of the brain. It takes up a full third of the entire surface of the hemisphere. And there's a good reason for that. Managing your personality, mapping out your goals, and controlling physical actions is an incredibly resource-intensive job. It absolutely needs that massive amount of real estate.
Let's actually zoom in on one specific command station within this executive suite, Broca's area. You'll find it down in the inferior frontal gyrus, and it's made up of 3 very distinct parts: the pars ocularis, the triangularis, and the orbitalis. This setup brilliantly illustrates just how insanely specialized the brain is. Together, these parts act like a linguistic assembly line in your dominant hemisphere. They literally formulate and control the physical act of speech, constructing sentences, managing grammar, and actually directing the tiny muscles you need to speak smoothly.
Now, sitting just behind that frontal lobe, separated by the central sulcus, we've got the parietal lobe. And these two, they share a pretty perfect, harmonious partnership. Think of it like this. The parietal lobe is all about feeling the outside world, taking in sensory input, touch, temperature. And then the frontal lobe takes that very information and acts upon the world through motor output and movement. To pull that off, the parietal lobe relies really heavily on a ridge called the primary somatosensory cortex. This is basically the hub that lets you reach for your morning coffee mug, feel its weight, and register that comforting warmth without even needing to look at it. It's constantly gathering signals from your skin, your joints, your muscles to give you this flawless, real-time map of exactly where your body is in space. All right, let's shift gears to departments 3 and 4, sight, sound, and memory. Tucked beneath those outer areas and extending all the way to the back of the skull are the highly specialized hubs processing everything we hear, see, and remember.
We'll start with the temporal lobe, which is located roughly right behind your ears. And wow, this department is a massive multitasker. Its primary auditory cortex processes raw sound, while Wernicke's area jumps in to help you actually comprehend those words. It's also got the fusiform face area, which is what lets you spot your best friend in a crowded room. And then, nestled deep inside, the hippocampus goes to work turning that exact interaction into a long-term memory for tomorrow.
Meanwhile, the occipital lobe is sitting way at the back of the brain, resting just above the cerebellum. And its job is incredibly focused. It catches raw visual signals straight from the eyes and instantly gets to work making sense of shapes, distances, colors, and motion. I mean, without the occipital lobe, sure, your eyes might see light, but your brain would have absolutely no idea what you were actually looking at.
Now we are peeling back the layers to look at the hidden inner lobes. The 4 lobes we just mapped out are all visible right on the surface. But if we metaphorically peel back that outer cortex, we reveal 2 more absolutely crucial, hidden departments that govern our internal reality. First up is the insular lobe, which a lot of people call the brain's 5th lobe. It is buried so deeply inside the lateral sulcus that you literally have to pull the temporal and frontal lobes apart just to get a glimpse of it. The insula is your ultimate internal integrator. So while the parietal lobe feels the outside world, the insula is busy processing taste, balance, and the internal sensations of your own bodily organs. It perfectly connects how your body feels on the inside to your conscious awareness.
And then, surrounding the very center of the brain is the sixth lobe, the limbic lobe. It forms this C-shaped ring that is deeply involved in our most primal drives. It features these highly specialized components, like the paraterminal gyrus regulating your mood, the cingulate gyrus processing the emotional reality of pain, and the parahippocampal gyrus routing sensory info right into our memory centers. This lobe is the engine driving our deepest emotions, our autonomic survival functions, and our ability to learn from the past.
So that brings us to a really crucial question. With all these separated, highly specialized departments, one for vision, one for hearing, one for acting, one for internal balance, how do they actually coordinate to perform a single, seamless, everyday task? How do we experience life as one continuous flow instead of just a fragmented mess of data?
Well, let's look at the seemingly simple act of reading to see this whole system in beautiful, synchronized harmony. Right now, as you're taking in the information here, your occipital lobe is visually processing the shape of the letters. It instantly hands that data to your temporal lobe, which translates those visual shapes into recognized language. All the while, your parietal lobe is keeping you spatially aware of the space around you. And finally, your frontal lobe comprehends the overall meaning of the sentence and plans what you're going to do next with that information. It's a stunning relay race, and it's happening in mere milliseconds.
And incredibly, this system isn't just rigid hardware. If one of these departments gets damaged through injury, this highly integrated command center can often utilize neuroplasticity. The brain can literally rewire its own communication networks. It routes around the damage, allowing completely healthy areas to sometimes take over and recover lost functions. The machinery is physically capable of rebuilding its own operating system, which is just mind-blowing.
Knowing that your six-lobed machine isn't static, knowing that it's constantly adapting, forming new connections, and fundamentally designed to change, it leaves us with one incredibly inspiring thought to end on today. If the distinct departments of your brain have the raw power to completely rewire themselves, what new skills, languages, or abilities are you capable of learning today? The hardware is already there, just waiting for your executive suite to give the command.